I will just start today's class by revising what we have done in the last few classes. I'll just go to I'll share my screen. Okay, and I will share with you the syllabus copy of the subject. The subject is application development using Python. So what we are going to learn in this subject is Python programming language. We are going to learn Python as any programming language. First, I told you that Python is a very diversified, very versatile programming language because you can use it in different domains. You can use Python for developing web applications. You can use Python for developing desktop-based standalone applications. You can use Python for developing image processing-based projects. You can use Python for machine learning. Python can be used in many different areas. That's why it is called as a very versatile programming language. First, I explained this to you. Then I explained to you people about what is the meaning of Python and what is the interactive shell of Python. What is this interactive shell of Python? Python programs can be executed in various ways. You can execute Python programs in different ways. Okay, all that you need in your computer is a Python runtime environment. What you require is Python runtime environment. Okay, Python runtime, which you can download from the internet. Once you download that, then you can execute your Python programs either in the interactive shell, or you can type the program in Notepad and save it with extension .py, and then you can use Python name of the file and execute it. We have seen that already, and we will be seeing it in the future also. How do we type the programs and how we execute, all that we will be again seeing it. So this is how we can execute the programs. Plus you can also download some Python distributions like Anaconda. There is one software called as Anaconda, which is called as a Python's distribution. You can even download that Anaconda software and you can install it, and you can even run your Python programs there. Actually, many people in your class have already downloaded that and they are using that. One of them is Omkar. The other day, I left the program halfway through and then he completed that, and I saw that his environment, the place where he was working on, was Anaconda software, that interactive shell of Anaconda. So don't think that to execute Python program you have only one way of doing it. No, Python programs can be executed in different ways. You can install the runtime environment, how I am doing it, like that also you can do, or you can install Anaconda and then you can install run the programs from there. So it is up to you people, whichever you find comfortable. What I recommend to you people, what I recommend to you people is use the technique that I'm using, okay? Because it is for beginners, it is easy. Once you understand the programming language, then you can go for the distributions like Anaconda and the different software. But if you're already comfortable with them, absolutely no problem. You please continue. There is absolutely no harm in doing so, okay? So now, we understood what is the interactive shell, how to execute Python programs, we saw that. And then we understood the different data types of Python. We know what is the meaning of integers, we know what is the meaning of floating point numbers, we know what is string data, and then we understood what is string concatenation, what is the meaning of string replication. We saw what is the meaning of a variable, how to store values in a variable. Then we wrote our first program. If you remember, we wrote our first program, and then we understood the parts of the program. Like when we write a Python program, we understood the parts of the program. Like first was a print statement, then was an input statement. So we understood the print statement of a program, we understood the input statement of a program. Then we understood comments. How do we write comments in a Python program? Before the comment starts, we have to always put a hash symbol. We have to always put a hash symbol that represents a comment. Okay, that represents the start of a comment. So whenever there is a comment in the program, that part will not be executed. It will be ignored by the runtime. Python will simply ignore it. It will not execute comments. Comments are not executed in any programming language. Okay, in C programming language, how we used to write the comments, we used to write 2 forward slashes. In case of Python, we write a hash. We write a hash in the beginning of the line, which represents that it is a comment. Okay, so that is about comments. And then later on we moved forward, and then we understood what is the meaning of a flow control. So this was, I think, the third chapter that we will be studying. And thanks to Omkar, he has shared the textbooks with us, the PDF files. Somehow it is not getting downloaded in my laptop. It is there in my mobile phone. I will shift it to my laptop maybe later on, but right now I'm going back to my website from where I downloaded this book, So I go back to that, and then let us start from here now. Okay, so what we are studying is the flow control in Python. We have already started this flow control in Python. Okay, we have already started in this. We have first understood what is the meaning of a flow control in a program. Numerous times, so many different number of times, you may have to take a particular decision, and based on the decision you have to either execute one set of statements or another set of statements. Okay, in a program, whether it is Python or any other program, remember, you come across situations where you would want to execute one set of statements if a condition is true. If the condition is not true, then you would want to execute another set of statements. Okay, another set of statements you would want to execute. So this is called as taking a decision and executing either this or that. This is called as control flow. Not only this, okay, in a program, so many times you would want to execute a set of statements numerous times. You would want to execute a set of statements, let us say 10 times or maybe 20 times or maybe 100 times or 1000 times. Now, depending upon what program you are writing, you would want to execute a set of statements numerous, many times. So there we use something called as a loop. We use a loop. So loop also comes under control statement. So what is a control statement in any programming language? A control statement in any programming language is one which causes the control to execute selectively some set of statements. Okay, a control statement in any program is, in any programming language, is the statement that will allow a set of statements to be executed conditionally. Depending upon a condition, it will execute that. So we have different types of condition statements. We have if condition, we have the loop statements and all that. So we will be seeing them one by one. For example, look at this particular example. We start and then we take a decision. Is it raining? If it is raining, then yes, then you do this. If it is not, then you take this. So depending upon this condition, whether the value of this condition is true or false, we either go this way or we go this way. When we say we go this way, there is a set of statements here which will get executed, and when we say go this way, there is a set of statements which is getting executed here. Okay, so depending upon a condition, you execute either one statement or another statement. This is the meaning of control flow, flow control or control flow. Now let us go further here. First, we understood what is the meaning of a Boolean value. What is a Boolean value? A Boolean data type. A Boolean data type is nothing but a data type in which there is only two values, a true or a false. There is either a true or there is either a false in Boolean values. When we say there is a variable of type Boolean, if I declare a variable of type Boolean, in this variable I can store only true or false. You know that. Okay, true or false we can store. Why we are learning Boolean values in control flow? Because it is important in this. Okay, so right now you just remember that a Boolean value is something which is either true or it is false. It cannot be anything other than true or false. This is a Boolean value. So if anybody asks you what is the meaning of a Boolean value, you should say that a Boolean value is one which will always have a value either true or false. Okay, and if I declare a variable of type Boolean, remember Boolean is a data type, just like integers, float and string. It's a data type. What do you mean by a data type? You can declare a variable of that data type. For example, if I declare a variable integer data variable, if I declare an integer variable, in that variable I can store only integer values. What is an integer value? Any number without a decimal point is an integer value. 36 is an integer value. 368 is an integer value. 10 is an integer value. So if I declare a variable of type integer, I can store only integers into it. Similarly, if I declare a floating point variable, I can store only floating point numbers into that variable. What is a floating point number? Any number which has got a decimal point in between it. So like that, I can declare a variable of type Boolean. I can declare a variable of type Boolean. When I declare a variable of type Boolean, in that variable I can store only true or false, nothing else, nothing more than that. Okay, so this is about Boolean values. Then comes the comparison operators. I told you that in any programming language there is comparison operators. If you want to check whether two variables are equal or no, you use the double equals to sign. Okay, double equals to sign we use. Okay, double equals to sign we use, and then from here we come to know whether the two variables are equal or they are not equal. Not equal to is checked using always then exclamation mark and equals to sign. Then less than, greater than, less than equals to, greater than equals to. These are all comparison operators or relational operators. Okay, we have done this in the last class, so I'm just zooming through. Then after that, What are Boolean operators or binary Boolean operators? These are also called as logical operators. Remember, in any programming language, we study three different types of operators. Arithmetic operators, we have already studied that in Python. Okay, plus, minus, star, slash, percentage sign for doing the modulus. These are all arithmetic operators to perform arithmetic operations. Then we have relational operators where we have less than, greater than, less than equals to, greater than equals to, not equals to. These are all relational operators. Then we have logical operators or Boolean operators. Logical operators or Boolean operators. And what are these? These are nothing but and, or, not. Okay, so remember that these are the three very commonly used logical or Boolean operators in any programming language: and, or not. What does these and, or not does? They are normally used for checking multiple conditions. For example, I want to check two conditions. If it is raining and it is sunny, if I want to check two conditions at the same time, then I make use of Boolean operators or logical operators. Okay, so at this point of time, you just remember that a Boolean operator or a logical operator are used for checking multiple conditions. That much only you remember. Then later on, when we have some good examples, at that time you will come across this. Okay, so let us go further, and then after that, yeah, here you can see that there is a little example of Boolean operators and relational operators. You can see that let us check this particular condition. Is, you have to ask yourself a question like this: is 4 less than 5? Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is true. So this is true, this condition is true. Is 5 less than 6? Yes, 5 is of course less than 6. So this is also true. So true and true. True, this is also true, and this is also true. So true and true is always true, because in between there is and. Okay, when and is there, if you want the output to be true, both of them should be true. Okay, now look at this. Look at another example. Is 4 less than 5? Is 4 less than 5? Yes, of course. So this is true. This is true. Let us check another condition after the and. Is 9 less than 6? No, 9 is not less than 6. So this is false. So true and false is always false. True and true is always true. True and false is always false. False and true is always false. False and false is always false. So you know the truth table of the and. Truth table of and, you know. Okay. So this is something which you people have already studied in other programming languages. Even in your logic design, you have studied the truth table of the and operator. And operator will always give you a true only when both of them are true. Okay, so this is about and. About or also, more or less, you know, if any one of them is true, if any one of them is true, the output is true. The output of or is false only when both the conditions are false. Okay, so we will understand this slowly. Okay, let us understand this slowly later on. Okay, next comes the conditional statements. Let's come to the conditional statements, and this is where we will be learning one very important concept of Python. We will learn one very important concept of Python. We will learn the concept of code indentation. We will learn the concept of code indentation. What is the meaning of code indentation? Now, this is very important. I want everybody to please pay attention to understand what is the meaning of code indentation. We are learning the conditional block, the if condition and all that. But before that, we have to understand what is the meaning of block of code in Python. A block of code in Python always starts with indentation increases. Blocks begin when the indentation increases. Blocks can contain other blocks. What is the meaning of this indentation? This is a very important word in Python. This is a very important word in Python. Now, what is the meaning of this indentation? I will explain to you. I will write a code directly and I will explain you the. If I go to Notepad, I will open Notepad here. I will type my program here. Okay. What I will do first, you see, I declare a variable X and I will initialize it to 100. I will declare a variable Y and then I will initialize it to 200. Okay. Then I write an if condition. I directly write an if condition. I say if X is less than 100, then I put a colon. In Python, remember, we don't have flower brackets. So if we don't have flower brackets, how do we say that this block of code belongs to the if block? How do we say that this particular block belongs to the if block? In C programming language, what used to happen is I used to write a bracket here, and then I used to write a bracket here, and then I used to say else, one more bracket I used to write, and then one more bracket I used to write. I used to write like this, and I used to write printf statement, all that. I used to write one more printf statement, and so many things I used to write here, and then printf, let us say here also there is a printf, and then let us say I would do something like x is equals to x plus 1 or something like that. I might have done. Okay, so now if you look at this, you are familiar with C, so I'm explaining you the C concept here right now. If x is less than 100, if this condition is true, then you know the if block is executed. Where is the if block? Where does it start? The if block will start from this flower bracket here till this flower bracket here closes. So between this opening of flower bracket and closing of flower bracket, whatever is in between that is the if block. It is the if block. It is the set of statements that belong to the if block. If let us say there is one more printf statement here, all these three statements belong to the if block because the flower bracket is starting and the flower bracket is ending here. Now, which is the else block? The else block is the one which starts after this flower bracket here. So this printf statement and x is equals to x plus 1, these two belong to the else block because the flower bracket is starting here and it is ending here. So if this condition is true, these three statements will get executed, and these will not be executed because they will get executed, these two will get executed when the condition is false. But since the condition is true, if the condition is true, now in this example, okay, let us say x is equals to 10. Let us say x is equals to 10. Is x less than 100? Yes, x, of course, x is less than 100 because it is 10. So the condition is true. If the condition is true, you know that the if block will get executed. So the statements, this printf statement, this printf statement, and this printf statement will definitely get executed because this condition is true. And since this condition is true, these statements will get executed. These will never get executed because this will get executed only when this condition is false. But this condition is not false, it is true. So that's why these two will not get executed, only these three will get executed. Similarly, let us say x is equals to 1000. Let us say x is equals to 1000. On the top, I say x is equals to 1000. Now I check, is x less than 100? No, x is not less than 100. X is 1000 and 1000 is not less than 100. X is not, so this condition is false. If the condition is false, these two statements will get executed. This will not get executed. So at any given time, the condition will either be a true or a false. If it is true, the if block will get executed, and if it is false, the else block will get executed. We all know this. We all know this. Okay, this is something which we have studied in all programming languages. Now I am explaining to you people what is the meaning of indentation. Okay, to understand indentation, first we have to understand from where to where my if block is starting. My if block is starting from this flower bracket to this flower bracket here. The else block is started from this flower bracket to this flower bracket here. And after that, whatever comes, let us say if there is a printf statement once again after this. Now this printf statement again belongs to the main program. This printf statement is neither else nor it is in the if block. This printf statement, if I write it after this flower bracket, this printf statement is not part of the else block, nor it is part of the if block, because it is outside the if block, outside the if else statement. So this is in the main program. So we have to understand from where to where my if block is starting. In C programming language, to start the if block, we always start with a flower bracket and we end with a flower bracket. Similarly, to start an else block, we'll start with a flower bracket, we end with a flower bracket. Similarly, if I have a while loop, okay, if I have a while loop, while x is less than 10, then I write a flower bracket and then I end a flower bracket. So whatever I write in between this, printf, I write something like this, printf. Okay, so where is my while block starting? It is starting with this flower bracket here, it is ending here with this flower bracket. So these two statements belong to the while loop. If I have a printf statement after this, remember it is outside the while loop, it is not in the body of the while loop, because whatever is between this flower bracket is the body of the while loop, is the body of the while loop. Okay, anything outside that is outside the while loop. Similarly, Similarly, if I have a function, let us say, if I declare a function, how do we declare functions in C programming language? First of all, we write whether it is public or private and all that. So I write void, let us say it is not returning anything. So I write void sum, let us say the name of the function is sum, and then it takes two parameters, int a comma int b, and then I write a flower bracket, and then I close the flower bracket. Okay, so I have this is how I declare functions in C programming language. This is the return type of the function. Since it is not returning anything, so I write void. This is the name of the function, sum. This is the first parameter to the function. This is the second parameter to the function, and then this is the body of the function. Why am I saying this is the body of the function? Because there is an opening of flower bracket and closing of flower bracket. Whatever comes between this, remember, is the body of the function sum. How do we represent the start and stop of a function? We open the flower bracket and we close the flower bracket. In C programming language, if you want to open a block of code or you want to close the block of code, we always represent it with a flower bracket and we close a flower bracket. We open a flower bracket and we close a flower bracket. If you want to open a while loop, we open a flower bracket, we close a flower bracket. Whatever is in between is the body of the while loop. If you want to write a if block, we open a flower bracket and we close a flower bracket. Whatever is in between these flower brackets is the body of the if block. If we want to start an else block, we open a flower bracket, we close a flower bracket. Whatever is in between that flower bracket is the body of the else block. In C programming language, if you want to open a block of code, we always represent it with the opening of flower bracket. And if you want to close a block of code, we always close flower bracket. In Python, now let us go to Python. Okay, I remove all this. Let us say I have this two variables in Python, x is equals to 100 and y is equals to 200. If I want to check the condition now, if x is less than 1000, if x is less than 1000, I'm explaining to you people how to write the if block in Python. If x is less than 1000, then we put a colon here. The colon represents the start of the block. The colon represents the start of the block. There it was a flower bracket, here it is colon. And after this, whatever statements you want to write in the if block, you have to write it in the next line. Next line, by adding a tab space, you have to add a tab space. See, I came one tab space inside. And then I start writing my if block. Print x is smaller, print something, x is smaller than 1000. X is smaller than 1000. You can write this in brackets. And after this, if you want to still do something, if you want to still write something in the if block, write it in one tab space inside. Okay, provide one tab space, and then write x is equals to x plus 200, something. Okay, don't worry much about what logic I'm writing, but try to understand. X is, I just increment the value of x. I increment it by 200. Whatever is the value of x, I just added 200 to it, and now that became the new value of x. So I added 200 to x. And then after that, I would want to again display the value of x. So I displayed the value of x, print x I did. So all these three statements, remember, print x is smaller than 1000, x is equals to x plus 200, print x, all these belong to the if block. All these belong to the if block. Why they belong to the if block? Because I'm writing them one tab space inside. From here to here is one tab space. I'm writing them one tab space inside. And this writing of the code, writing of the block of code, okay, after some space is called as indentation. Is called as indentation. I have indented my code. Okay, this space in Python plays a very important role. When you write a space there, it means that they all belong to the if block. They all belong to the if block. Okay, after this, from here to here, whatever space is there, they all, after that, whatever statement is there belongs to the if block. If there is another statement which is again written after this space, this also belongs to the if block. Similarly, even this space from here to here is there. So this print statement also belongs to the if block. Now you want to write the else block. So write else. Okay, in the main line you have to write You have to write it in the main line like this, in the same line, in the same column. This is the same line, same column. Exactly below, if you have to write this else, you cannot write this else here. If you write this else here inside, it will become part of the if block. No, but that should be in the main line. Else put a colon, then whatever you want to write in the else block should be written again one tab space inside, one space inside you have to write down. So just write down print x is bigger than 1000, and then you would want to do this, x is equals to x minus 200, some logic. Okay, don't worry about what I'm writing. Why am I subtracting 200 from x? Don't worry about that, something I'm just writing. And then print the value of x. So now look at this. These three statements belong to the if block. These three statements belong to the if block. There is no flower bracket here. But how do we know that they belong to the if block? Because you have written them exactly one tab space inside. This is also exactly one tab space inside. This is also exactly one tab space inside. So whatever you write one tab space inside from here to here is the if block. And I know that these three statements belong to the if else block because I've written them one tab space inside. I've written them one tab space inside. I've written them one tab space inside. Okay. Now remember, the amount of spaces that are left from here to here should be exactly the same from the spaces that are left from here to here. So that's why I always press tab, because tab will always produce those many number of spaces only. So I press tab only once and then I write that. Okay, now let us say I write a print statement here. Print hello. If I write, now this print statement, tell me it belongs to the else block or the if block. Now this print statement, it neither belongs to the if block nor it belongs to the else block. Definitely it will not belong to the else block. If I write this here, then now it belongs to the else block. But if I write it in the main line from where my program is starting, remember that this belongs to the main program, not to the else block. They don't belong to the else block. This statement here do not belong to the else block. If I write this like this, now it belongs to the else block. But since I am writing this here from the first line only, it belongs to the main program. It does not belong to the else block. This is called as indentation. And this is how we define block of code in Python. In Python, we don't have the concept of flower bracket. We don't have the concept of flower bracket, remember, which will represent the start of the block and end of the block. No, it is in C programming language. It is in C++. Okay, it is in Java. Flower brackets are there. But in Python, remember, there is no flower bracket. Okay, how do we represent then? We represent it with the amount of spaces here. This space we have to provide exactly, and then we come to know all these three statements belong to the if block. These three statements belong to the else block. Then you'll ask me a question, then sir, in while loop also the same thing? Yes, of course, in the while loop also the same thing. We write it like this in Python. We write while x is less than, let us say, I initialize x to 0. Okay, let us say I initialize x to 0, and then while x is less than 10, I put a colon and then I write one tab space inside. Okay, I say print x is equals to x plus 1. I initialize x to 0 while x is less than 10. So x is less than 10. Yes, x is less than 10. So it goes inside the body of the loop. It will display the value of x. It will display 0 first, and then it will increment the value of x to 1, and then it will go back again. So how do we know that these two statements belong to the while loop? Because there is exactly one tab space given here. So these two statements belong to the while loop. If I write some statement here, print if I write like this, now tell me whether this print statement belongs to the while loop. No, it will not, because it is written in the main line. Only these two statements, this print x and x is equals to x plus 1, only these two statements belong to the while loop. This will not. If I write this like this, one tab space inside, if I write it here, now this print hello will be part of the while loop. But if I write it on the main line, now it is not a part of the while loop. So in Python, if you want to represent a block of code, you have to always write it one tab space inside, one tab space inside, one tab space inside. So these three statements belong to the if block. These three statements belong to the else block. This statement belong to the main program. These two statements belong to the while loop. These belong to the main program, and so on. And this providing spaces in the block is called as indentation. This is called as indentation. The code has to be indented. You have to increase the indentation. You increase the indentation. So in Python, from where you start typing the program is very important. You start typing it from the first line, or you start typing it after one tab space. It plays a very important role. Remember that. It plays a very, very important role. In Python, this plays a very important role. Okay, so look at the code now. From the look only, we will come to know these three statements belong to the if block, these three belong to the else block, these two belong to the while loop, and this, which is starting from the first line, they all belong to the main program. They all belong to the main program. Okay, now you have understood the else block. Now I will remove this. Okay, and then I will execute this program. What is the value of x? It is 100. What is the value of y? It is 200. Y is not required. I will remove that. X is 100. Is x is less than 1000? Yes, it is less than 1000, so it will display x is smaller than 1000, and then after that it will even perform x is equals to x plus 200. So x is 100, it will add a 200 to it, so 100 plus 200 is 300. That is kept into x, so x is now 300. It will display the value of x, that is 300, and then finally it will display a hello, because this is the part of the main program, and then it will not do this. You all know that it will not do this, and then it will display the value of this. It will display hello, and then it will stop the program. Let us execute this program and check the output. Okay, how to execute the program? I say file, save. I will save it in the D drive. Okay, this is the D drive already. So I will save the program as test2.py. Okay, I call the program as test2.py and say save. So I have saved this in the D drive. I go to the command prompt. You all know we have to go to the command prompt like this. Then we have to go to the D drive. Once we go to the D drive, then here we have to type Python space name of the file test. What is the name of the file? Test2.py. Test2.py is the name of the file. So I did that and enter. So you can see what all it is displaying. X is smaller than 1000. Why did it do that? Because x is 100. Is x less than 1000? Yes, of course 100 is less than 1000, no problem. So it executed the if block, and then to execute the if block, what all it has done? It has first executed this statement, x is smaller than 1000. So you can see x is smaller than 1000, it executed. Then after that it performed x is equals to x plus 200. So x was 100. 100 plus 200 is 300. 300 was kept into x, and then I displayed the value of x. So it displayed 300. So in the if block, it incremented the value of x by 200, and then it displayed the value of x, and then after that it displayed the value of x, that is 300, and then finally it will definitely not execute the else block, and then it will come out of the if, and then this is the part of the main program. This is the part of the main program. So you can see that it even displayed you hello here. It even displayed you hello, because after it performs the if block, it has to do the next statement in the program, and this is the next statement in the program. So it even displayed you hello here. It even displayed you hello here. So you saw the output of the program. X is smaller than 1000. Hello. Look at the program, and then look at the output. Very simple. Now I will do a small change in the program. I will increase this to 10,000. Now I did the value of x as 10,000. I did the value of x as 10,000. And now can you just imagine what will be the output of the program? The value of x now is 10,000. So what it will do, just imagine, you do it yourself and keep it in your mind. I will execute the program and I'll show you. First I will clear the screen. Okay, and now I will execute the program. Same thing, Python test2.py. I will save the program first. File, save it. I did the change, so I have to save the program, and then I came here, Python test2. Now see the output now. Then I execute it. Now x is definitely 10,000. So is x less than 10,000? No, x is 10,000. So x is not less than. So this is a false. This condition is false. So if this condition is false, the else block will get executed. The if block will not get executed. Okay. So hence what happened? It displayed me x is bigger than 1000. So you can see x is bigger than 1,000, and then it subtracted 200 from x. So x was 10,000 minus 200 is 9,800, and then it displayed the value hello here. So because print hello belongs to the main program, it does that anyhow, whether it is a true condition or a false condition. After executing the if block or the else block, print hello will definitely execute because it is the part of the main program. It is a part of the main program. So look at the program. Look at the program. The program is quite simple. The program is quite simple. What we have understood a very important concept of Python today. We have understood what is the meaning of code indentation. Whatever it is, whether it is an if block or else block, you have to write it one tab space inside. One tab space inside. Okay? Whether it is a while loop, whether it is an if block, whether it is an else block, or even if it is a function. Let me just give you, we are going to learn function in detail later on, but right now, let us see how to define functions in Python. In Python, we define functions like this. We write a keyword called as def, define function called as sum, and then parameters we write a comma b. We don't write any data type. Then we write a colon here. This is how we define functions in Python. We write def, okay, define a function sum, two parameters a and b, and then after that we write a colon. And then if you want to write the body of this function, we write it one tab space inside. We write print this is in the function. Then we write s is equals to a plus b. S is equals to a plus b, and then we write print s. So all these statements, 1, 2, 3 statements, they belong to the function. Why? Because you have written them one tab space inside. Okay, you have written them one tab space inside. You have written them, so they belong to the function. So in any case, whether it is a loop, whether it is if condition, whenever you want to write a block of code, you always write them one tab space inside. So we will be learning more about functions later on, but right now I hope you have all understood the meaning of indentation. If you have any doubts, please note them so that in the next class we can solve them. Okay, any doubts you have, you can please ask on the group also. So we will stop here today. I will continue again in the next class.